We put the boom back in the boom back. Cleveland rack, Johnny Cash, BB King rack.
Welcome to ADV TV. In this episode, we'll be going to Huntington, Massachusetts with the Army Corps of Engineers, where we visit the Knightville and Littleville dams, and we also visit the Indian Hollow Campground. And Derek and I rode out and met up with the Army Corps of Engineers to get some footage and take a tour. And we learned a lot about dams. One of the things in particular that was interesting to me was that dams have a spillway, which I did not know prior to this, that once the water gets to a certain height that's uncontrollable, the water will go over the spillway instead of cresting over the dam and compromising it with a washout in the back. And usually that spillway is concrete and bedrock. So I found that to be pretty interesting. How about you?
What amazed me is, when I used to live in Arizona, people from all over the world would come out to the Hoover Dam. So it's a world-renowned dam. And when you go out there, they bring you through all the engineering, the 1930s engineering of the Hoover Dam and how it brought water to half of California, and that's why we have the food we eat today. But people don't realize that that technology is here in Massachusetts. It's just weird that no one ever goes out to these dams. But the dam that we saw today, the Knightville Dam and the Littleville Dam, they use the exact same technology as the Hoover Dam. It was built in the same era, same technology, and for the same reasons. The spillways were engineered the same, the concrete, and just the technology, the 1930s technology is just amazing. And you don't have to go all the way out to Arizona to see the Hoover Dam. You can just go right here in Massachusetts, and there's many, I would say, engineering feats, marvels of engineering that are here right in the valleys of Massachusetts that you can actually go see and are still working today. So
also, the dams are two different styles. The Littleville Dam holds back a lake, and the Knightville Dam is actually on a river that passes through, and when that river overflows, the dam slows the water flow so it doesn't damage the cities and the towns in the valley. One of the other things that they were mentioning to us was that there's a lot of activities that you can do there. When it's not flooded, they allow hunting and hiking and mountain biking.
I mean, I took my motorcycle up there and I rode for an hour and I was still in the woods and I didn't even know what town I was in. And it overlooks the Westfield River. I think it's the North Branch of the Westfield River. But there's a lot of recreation out there, and they said in the wintertime you can go snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, and everything. You can go swimming there in the river.
Yeah, and we'll provide the information at the end of the episode of our website. You can visit and get all the official information with more facts than we have on the top of our head. But it'll be there, and you can check it out. And why not explore and enjoy that area? They'd like to have you.
Hi, I'm Joe Falleretti, Operations Manager, Lower Connecticut River Basin for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in New England. We're in the project office at Knightville Dam. Knightville was completed in 1941. It was the first Corps dam built in Massachusetts. It is one of the 5 oldest dams in New England. It's about 2,700 acres of land at Knightville. And Knightville is unique in that it's been over spillway crest twice. The first time just barely going over spillway at around the time of completion, and then the pool of record in April of 1987, we went over spillway by a couple feet. The water was so powerful it eroded the spillway channel down to bedrock, which can still be seen today. Knightville is what we call a run of the river or dry bed reservoir. Normally, when you look upstream from the dam, you'll see just basically the east branch of the Westfield River. If it's necessary, we start to store potential floodwaters. Then we end up with a lake, which at its fullest would hold 16 billion gallons of water, which is quite a bit of water. Under normal circumstances, we would just pass whatever is coming down the Westfield River through the dam and then downstream from Knightville Dam. Knightville offers a wide variety of recreation, including hiking, mountain biking, hunting, fishing in season with a state license, snowmobiling, and basically nature study, if you will. It's a great place to visit. It has a developed picnic area. It also has the Indian Hollow Group Use Campground. but most of the reservoir is just basically old gravel roads and trails and woods and bottomland. Littleville Lake is on the middle branch of the Westfield River. That's one ridge over from the east branch where Knightville is located. Littleville was completed between 1962 and 1965. It is future standby water for the city of Springfield. The city of Springfield paid for the water storage rights at Littleville Reservoir. And if you look at the normal lake at Littleville, it's about 300 acres. It's at an elevation of 518 feet above sea level. That is the water supply pool. It's available for boating and fishing. Water contact sports are not allowed because it is water supply. And anything above the 518-foot elevation is flood risk management storage. That is where you would store potential floodwaters until it's safe to release them downstream in the middle branch of the Westfield River, also in conjunction with Knightville Dam and all of the other core projects in the Connecticut River Basin, depending on what's happening throughout the watershed from Long Island Sound, basically all the way up to Canada. Littleville Lake is really pretty in the fall during foliage season, as is Knightville, except for at Littleville you get a nice reflection off the lake at times. Littleville is available for fishing, hunting, hiking, mountain biking, in season, hunting and fishing with the appropriate state license. We do get a lot of fishing pressure there in the spring when it's stocked heavily by Mass Fish and Wildlife, and it is also a pretty popular ice fishing spot. The pool at Littleville is controlled by what we call a weir, which is very similar to a spillway structure, but it keeps the pool at 518 feet above sea level, and we don't have to operate gates to maintain the pool. When the water spills over the permanent pool weir, it goes through the flood control gatehouse and goes downstream into the middle branch of the Westfield River. And Littleville is unique in New England too, in that it has one gatehouse for flood risk management and one for water supply. There is a 48-inch water conduit that goes from the water supply gatehouse down to the Springfield Water and Sewer Commission's pumping station in Huntington, Massachusetts. And from there, the water would be pumped up to Cobble Mountain Reservoir, which is Springfield's main water supply reservoir. Both of these projects are really interesting to visit and to operate. If you get a shot to come out and see them, we welcome you. Knightville Dam was built as a system of what we call flood control reservoirs at the time here in New England at a cost of just under $3 million. That was to acquire the land to build the project. It was built as a direct result of some hurricanes and storms in the middle and late 30s. 36, 38 come to mind, the hurricanes. Littleville was built as a direct result of the hurricane of 1955. Littleville cost just under $7 million to build, and that includes the land, purchasing the land and building the structures. They've saved many, many times more, millions of dollars in flood damage reduction since their construction. And we're going to go from the dam site up to Indian Hollow Campground. What do you think, Colin? A half hour?
Yeah, give or take 25 minutes.
Knightville is the first Corps of Engineers dam in Massachusetts. It's one of the 5 oldest Corps of Engineers dams in New England. The bottomland in Knightville Reservoir, just under 300 acres, is leased to Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, and they operated as the Knightville Dam Wildlife Management Area. They stock trout, they stock pheasant in season, and late summer, early fall, they do mowing of strips in the open areas to allow for bird hunters to have access. We've had that lease with them. Well, I came here in '86 and it predates that. So I'm going to say, without actually looking at the document, probably in the late '70s was the original lease to them. And it's a mutually beneficial relationship for the Corps and Mass Fish and Wildlife. Campground has been in existence since probably the mid-'70s, when it was originally a campground open to the general public. At a point in time, it became a group use campground only. That's what it is today. It's located near the confluence of the Dead Branch and the East Branch of the Westfield River. It's you know, fairly good sized campground. It has a couple of group sites. We call them the North Loop and the South Loop. That's the South Loop we're driving through right now, and we're heading towards the North Loop. Each loop has 15 campsites, and I can give you a little bit more of the particulars when we park. Right now we're at Indian Hollow Campground, which is part of the Knightville Dam project. It's a group use campground. We have two group loops here, the North Loop, which we're at right at this time, and the South Loop, which is over to that direction. You can make reservations here online at the National Recreation Reservation Service. They take reservations for a lot of Corps of Engineers facilities, including picnic shelters, campgrounds, a lot of other federal agencies, and I know also Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation uses their service. We have one group in here today. Typically we get a lot of use on weekends, not so much midweek like we are today on a Wednesday. We can certainly just walk around and you can see some of the facilities if you like, and if you have any questions, just please feel free to ask them. So we can just head on over this way, if that's okay. We have a comfort station here that has hot showers, restrooms. It's subject to flooding, which is why it looks kind of like a teepee shape. It has been flooded a lot of times over the years. And right in front of us, if you look, we have a group that's in here camping most likely for the week. We get a list of reservations from the reservation service, and we know who's in here and when. We patrol the campground at least once a day, more often on weekends. It's a really nice site. You don't realize you're, in the heart of Massachusetts, really, because other than the restroom and picnic tables and stuff, you don't really see much in the way of man-made structures. It is right on the east branch of the Westfield River, which is the main stem of the Westfield River. Adjacent here is a Mass Division of Fisheries and Wildlife catch and release trout area. The river is stocked with trout. We're right downstream from Chesterfield Gorge. You could actually walk to Chesterfield Gorge if you waded across the Westfield River and when the flow is low enough, and walk on. There's a management road on the west side of the east branch of the Westfield River, which will take you all the way up to the upper reaches of federal property at Knightville, and into some state forest property, and eventually Chesterfield Gorge.
Can we walk down to the river? Are we that close?
Sure, yes we can. Yep. We'll have to kind of look where we can find a spot to see the river. I think straight in front of us would be good. And this campground is subject to flooding. It's been under many times. If we store around 100 feet of water, it will flood here. And typically that will happen in the spring. It's probably slippery, so be careful. Okay, so we're at the east branch of the Westfield River, adjacent to the Indian Hollow Campground. People do wade and swim in the river here, and if you were to look on the opposite shore, you'll see a fair number of downed tree limbs and stuff. We know in the spring there's a huge pile of trees and limbs and stuff that came down the last really big storm we had. But that's normal. It's on the other side of the river. We just kind of let it stay there. Any debris we get at the campground we would pick up and dispose of properly. But again, this is part of the catch and release area. To the left, the river goes downstream to Knightville Dam. To the right, it goes upstream to Chesterfield Gorge. And we can access the river at another spot if you want to, where you get a little bit better view of it, maybe. But that's completely up to you. We can just walk right in here. Yeah, and we'll get another view of the river. These are a lot of poplar seedlings that have seeded themselves in from the large trees that are still here and that didn't get taken out by the beavers. And we're looking at the east branch of the Westfield River again. We're on the east bank. If you look to the right, that's where the north loop of the campground is. And if you look to the left, that's where the river goes downstream towards Knightville Dam. And just about opposite us, you see some large willows, and right behind them is a bridge abutment. There's another one on this side. There used to be a bridge that crossed here before the government land taking and before Knightville Dam was built. You're welcome. And one thing I didn't mention earlier is that north of Knightville Dam and south of Knightville Dam, the federal property, the east branch of the Westfield River is designated wild and scenic. That's a national wild and scenic designation. And that is true also of the middle branch, north or upstream of Littleville Lake and south of the federal property at Littleville Lake. The middle branch is also designated wild and scenic, which speaks volumes about how nice the rivers and their resources are. I think we're getting pretty drenched, so if you have no objection, let's go back in the car.
They say that it's a cold world we're living in. I wouldn't know, been in my own world since I can't remember when there's no answers, let it be. Don't think of giving in. Get back up, then begin again. In the beginning when we were just children, our wildest dreams seem limitless and imminent. Raised by good men and good women, then grow up to recognize we're not so innocent, not so infinite. infinite and limited a little bit. Our only hopes to make the most while in the thick of it. This is our predicament, no time to be inhibited. We all shine on. Like the moon and the stars and the sun, we all shine on. Like the moon, the stars, the sun, we all shine on. Like the moon and the stars and the sun, we all shine on. Like the moon, the stars, and John Lennon. It's 7:15, cold world wide awake, sleep will never get them. When it's another day, another dead end, I'm digging in the crate to make a diamond from a lemon like. Don't let it bring you down, right Neil? Young at heart, dishing up the life spill. I've got a big dream, big wheels running in my head that don't sit still. There's room for development, nobody's talking, but like a room full of elephants piling up. Ladies and gentlemen, the closet's too full, we gotta move out the skeletons. Good luckin', keep on trucking, songs not get nothing. Believe me, when things get tough, then we all shine on. Like the moon and the stars and the sun, we all shine on.
When you saw that photo of the flooded picnic area, that's the picnic area that was under the water at spillway discharge.